Well, good morning to you. Today we're going to make some short ribs, and I've already got them in the pan and browning in some olive oil. I put like a tablespoon or so of olive oil, and backside down. I'm going to show you that in a minute. There's the short ribs browning up really good. Here I have a lot of the ingredients that we're going to be using. About 2 sticks of celery, 2 onions sliced in half, 2 carrots, and then I've got over here the garlic. I just chopped off the top of it. I'm going to put that whole thing just the way it is right into the roasting pan, and parsley. I'm going to marinate, not marinate, but into this, after it's brown, I'm going to use a beer and some Worcestershire sauce. I had that out already. Some stewed tomatoes, some beef broth, perhaps 2-3 cups of that. We'll see after we add our tomatoes in, our tomato paste, and of course some nice brown sugar. A lot of seasonings, of course, garlic, pepper. I salted this meat and peppered it really, really well. And it's been out of the fridge for, at least 2 hours. So I got it down to room temperature. I've left it salted up. And so I'll be back when this meat is browned up, and we'll continue with all our seasoning. I took the meat out, and I drained off a lot of the fat that was at the bottom. I'm just browning, and I cut them into chunks. I went towards in between the bones, and now I'm browning all sides. Okay, I'm almost through with this browning. This kind of meat, remember, anything you make like this falls in the category with pot roast, etc. Those are tough cuts of meat. They roast for 2-3 hours sometimes, but really good to brown them off really well. And then, of course, they just cook in a sauce until they're falling off the bone. Be right back. Okay, so now we've removed the beef short ribs, and I drained off all the fat. And let me tell you, there was a lot of fat. If you'll see here in this cup. See all that I drained off? Yeah. So, and that's another good reason for it. Rather than cutting it off, trimming it off, I like to brown it. Okay, so now I'm going to have to get my spoon in here. I put my tomato paste in the bottom of this pan, like that. I like to get it kind of hot. And now I'm going to add some of my onions, because I want them to brown up a little bit. Just get a little sear on them. Just a little sear before I start adding the beer and the liquids, So you want to get them a little bit and pick up all that stuff that's in there. So, like so. Maybe I can get this to go. Oh, there we go. You can see that now. I'm going to put in just a little more of that fat back in there. I think I drained it too well. Let's just do that. And that's pretty good. That's looking pretty good. I don't want that to burn. I don't want that to burn. If that burns, then I have to remove it. I'm going to add the beer right now. I'm going to add the whole bottle of beer. That's it. Whole bottle. All right. That got nice. That got nice, huh? That really got nice. I'm going to put my carrots and celery now at the bottom of this pot Oh, I'm gonna cut some. If you ever get these strings, you know, just cut them, pull them right off. I don't know if you ever seen that, but you just pull them right off. See? Take them out. Okay. All right. Now, I'm going to put my bay leaves in there. And I'm going to put this garlic clove, this whole thing. See, I just cut the top off. I'm just going to set it in there. I'm just going to set it right in there. Let it roast away. I'm going to set my oven now for 350. Let that get going. Pull the frying pan out that I have in there. Okay, so now we're going to add a little Worcestershire sauce, 1 or 2 tablespoons. The stewed tomatoes, I'm not even going to break them down, or they'll break down by themselves, because this is going to be going for at least 2 hours, maybe 2.5. I'm going to sprinkle a little garlic pepper in there. About a 1/2 teaspoon of rosemary garlic. Some oregano. I'd say a teaspoon if you want to measure. I just sprinkle it around. Okay. I'm going to add now 2 tablespoons of brown sugar, and I think, let's see, I'm going to add a little bit of vinegar to that. I always add vinegar. When I add vinegar, then I add sugar. And if you can see all that going on there. I've got some chopped parsley here, but I want to wait till a little later after this all gets, you know. So you've got your onions and your garlic. Oh boy, do we have the garlic, right? And I'm going to start putting the meat into our roasting pan. And that will, I'm just going to taste that sauce just for a minute to see just where am I. I mean, I realize that it's just beginning, but I want to see if the salt and the sugar is where I want it to be, because I'm not sure where this is. Oh yeah, that's pretty darn good. I did salt it I salted it quite a bit. I'm going to add a little bit more of this kosher salt, coarse kosher salt, which is what I used on the meat. I used that quite a bit. Now I'm going to add, maybe I better put the meat in, and then we'll base our judgment as to, because we want this meat to be sitting in it. So we're going to put these nice big chunks of our ribs in here. Okay, I might lift some of that other stuff up to get it in there. Wait a minute here. Let me bring this way. Yeah. I might have to bring some of this up to make room for these beautiful chunks of meat. I'm going to pull some of this on top, like so. And there, everything is nicely in the pool, as we say. huh? In the pool, boys. And boy, doesn't that look delicious. I'm going to add the rest of that oil from that juice from those ribs that were sitting on that plate. Now, based on how this looks is where I'm going to make my decision as to how much beef broth I'm going to put in there, okay? So we're going to start with a cup of beef broth. Whoops, that one schlupped. Let's see, and maybe a cup and a half. I don't want to go any further because you got to make room. We don't want this spilling over in the oven. So the ribs are really nicely in the bath here. They're really doing good. Now I can tuck those onions in between, like so. This is a fabulous dish. It's not a lot to do, basically, because it takes care of itself. So there's my roast there. That's looking really good. And we're going to put that in the oven now. I'm going to put the foil over it. And we'll check back in about an hour or so, just to see how it's doing. As a last note, on the short ribs, I removed all the fat that was settled up at the top. And then I took the meat out, okay, and my carrots. And then I put them in in my little bowl here, my serving bowl. And I strained the gravy. You see how that is there? All the vegetables and everything. I strained it, okay? So now you have this wonderful clear broth. A clear, I shouldn't call it a broth, it's a gravy. And I did also, you can leave it as it is, but you'll notice it has a little bit of a glisten to it, and that's because I did put a little cornstarch. Just put a little cornstarch in a cup with the gravy that is in your roasting pan, and stir it around. I'd say I put about a tablespoon of cornstarch, and I just stirred it into my sauce, and I got this little bit more of a little more of a, it sticks more. You know what I mean? Let me see how let me show you if I put my spoon in here. You see how that looks just a little bit more silky, huh? A little bit more, a little thickening, not a whole lot. Okay, so that's it, and we're just gonna plate this up, and we'll take a look at how this all turned out. Started those little cheesy scalloped potatoes, and so I'm gonna turn the camera around so you can see what I'm doing. I did slice up the potatoes in this nice dish here, oven proof casserole dish, and I layered the cheese. You could use shredded cheese, but I just had the block and I just cut it up and layered it in between. And as I said, you just wash the potatoes really good, slice them up as thin as you can, and just layer them in. And I did spray the bowl with a little Pam. Okay, so I melted the butter, 4 tablespoons of butter in this pan, and now I'm going to add 4 tablespoons of flour. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm now going to just get that flour into the butter mixture, and what we're doing is a little roux for our cheesy potatoes, and oh, they are really wonderful. I hope that you will try this. It's easy. Maybe you had made them, and the recipes vary. So anyway, here we are. We've got that potato nicely picking up on all that nice butter. Okay, and now I'm going to add a little salt to this. A tiny bit of pepper. Tiny bit of pepper. I like pepper in this. Okay. And now we're going to slowly add our milk. Just slowly. And just keep doing that until that flour is absorbed. And it'll look like mashed potatoes, I always feel. So I'm going to add a little more. It's going to turn into a nice sauce, and then we're just going to pour it over our potatoes. Now I used red potatoes. Use any kind of potatoes. I really like the reds. And I don't know, you can use whatever you prefer. But here we are. We're going slowly with this till we get a nice sauce. Now I am using whole milk, and I do think it makes a difference. Whole milk. And we just keep stirring until we get it all nicely mixed into a wonderful creamy sauce. And this is the basics for any roux, really. You don't necessarily have to use milk, but in this case it's milk. But you can do this and add chicken broth or beef broth if you're working with a gravy. And it comes together nicely. And I like to keep the not too high of a flame on this. I like to take it easy to see what I'm doing. And I just keep stirring. Just keep stirring. And we're almost there. We're almost there. Like so. And you can add, you add a little salt and pepper to it. That always makes it good. There we are. I'm raising the heat just a little bit now because I'm almost at that point. All right, we're going to add the rest of this milk. And there we are. Now we just keep blending it together. Okay. And maybe I'm going to add just a little more salt. And maybe I'm going to taste that because you don't have to add a whole bunch of sauce because that Velveeta cheese it's pretty salty. So that's why it doesn't have to, you don't have to worry about adding too much salt, I don't think. I'm going to just double check that because I just want to see where I'm at with that. Oh yeah, that's nice. It's nice. I'd rather under salt than over salt because then I can't stand things when they're over salted. And as I said, the Velveeta cheese is salty. So you've got that there too. You can add a little more. You can always salt your stuff by yourself anyway. It's always better a little less. Now we want to get this to where it starts to simmer. Make sure that that flour is incorporated really well. I've got the oven ready at 350. I'm going to pour this sauce over it, and then it will stay in the oven I'm going to cover it, and it's in the oven for an hour. And because you know those are raw potatoes, it's a raw. You know, I don't think I said that. They're not. The potatoes are raw, so it takes about an hour, and they're sliced really thin, so that now this is starting to come really nice, really nice. It's a delicious sauce, really, and I think that whole milk makes a big difference. And that looks like we're there. Hmm? I think that we're really there. Wonder if I have my spatula handy. That little thing likes to get away from me a lot. I'm going to turn that off. Where is, here it is. Okay. So, that's it. It's thickened up perfectly. 4 tablespoons of butter, 4 tablespoons of flour. Now we just pour that right over our potatoes and cheese. Just pour that right over it. There we are. Get my spatula here and run that in there. And that's it. That is it. We turned all that off. And in the oven it goes. And it will just find its way to the bottom and cook. And I have a little lid for this. And it's going to go in the oven. I'll be back with you when it's done. We plated up our wonderful short ribs, and we have a little scalloped potatoes, our cheesy potatoes, and the short ribs, well, they've just about fall apart. Look at that. They just come apart, just like as tender as could be, and they have a wonderful sauce. And let's see. Oh, this is it's, you know, I call these kind of dishes old world eating. They take some time, and they take a lot of effort, but the result is so wonderful. And our little cheesy scalloped potatoes to go with it, or maybe some mashed potatoes. You will love it. I hope you try my recipe. Enjoy.